All right. Well, hello, everyone. So Dr. Sky invited me to talk a little bit about the creation of these books that I think you're going to be using in your class. And so I'm grateful that you're going to be using these in your class. Thank you. Hopefully, you find these to be interesting and fun and and useful texts. But let me tell you a little bit about why I create these open textbooks. These are all the different books that I've been able to create that are free and openly available to everyone. And so I just want to talk a little bit about why I do that. I don't do it just because I have reasons for it. And the reason is because everyone talks about education needing to change. We need to reform education. And I think, well, okay, but what do we need to change? And this led me to think, what are the key parts of education? And for me, the way I interpret this is I believe in that education is really the three C's. So it's content, it's community and relationships and mentoring with peers, with the professors, that kind of thing. And then it's also credentials, which is feedback, it's assessment, how am I doing, and getting recognized for the learning that you do. I think these three things are the three things that are important. And in my own work, I do research in all three of these areas. For example, when I think about content, I think, well, what would change in education if the content was free? And not only that, if it was modifiable because you put an open license on it. So anybody could use the material and change it. It could be media rich. And that led me to this idea of creating open textbooks. Obviously, other people have done it before, so it wasn't like it was my idea, but I really put a lot of energy into trying to make textbooks that not only are free, but are media rich, modifiable, and are just as high quality as the books that you could spend money on. In our department, we've been making a big push in this direction to the point where we're almost a zero cost master's degree. Where students hardly spend any money at all on textbooks, and that's because of all of these free textbooks that we've been creating. So I also have been thinking about communities. That's the other C, so content and communities. This is more the research that I've been doing in, I call it the ACE framework with Jared Burrup and Charles Graham and some others, where we've been developing ways to think about community in online learning, and particularly personal communities. So not just the class community, but the personal communities. So that's some of the research I'm doing there. And then a lot of the research that I'm doing is also around the idea of credentials and getting recognized for the learning that you do. And this led me to ask questions like, well, how can we provide better feedback to students? How can we better communicate what they know to other people? And so because of this, I've been involved in the Open Badge and Open Micro-Credential community since it started back in 2012. I've done a lot of research, a lot of work in open badges and open credentials. So that just kind of lets you know why I develop open books. It's not just because, I don't know, it's fun, it is fun, but this is part of what I believe is important for education. If we want education to be open, then open content is one of the three C's. So I've been working on several of these books, so you can see them here. Let me highlight just a few of them that I think would be helpful to you as students that you may be using in this class, but also some others that you may not be using. So to start with, I believe you're using the Foundations book in your class. One thing you may not know is that it's now in its second edition. Actually, the second edition will be released January of 2024, but we have it about halfway done. And so you can actually go to the same website, edtechbooks.org, and you can find the second edition of this book. The chapters have been updated, so they've got new material, they're up to date, they're current, and we also have many new chapters. We have a really great media versus methods chapter by Charlie Regaluth and others. And we've got a book on a chapter on the history of the field by Mike Melinda from Indiana University and some of his collaborators. We have timelines that indicate each decade in the field and what were the big events of that decade. There's several of these timelines that we're going to have. They're interactive timelines. We're going to have chapters on artificial intelligence that's obviously just emerged and what that means for the future of the field, learning experience design, CSCL, learning engineering, data analytics, gamification, really great chapter on how to design for creativity. We know how to design for people to learn content, but how do we design for people to be creative? And that's a really fantastic chapter from some great scholars there too. So some great new material. So I encourage you not just to read the book that maybe has been assigned to you, but also go check out the second edition. I think there's going to be some new stuff there that you're going to really find helpful. I've also got, I worry about students. You guys are on my mind. And so I create books to try to help students and new professionals find their place in this field, find their careers in this field. So I have two books that I can offer you there. One is called Becoming a Professional in Learning and Instructional Design Technology. The other one is about failing forward. And in these books, you'll find chapters about different careers and how to find them. How do you find a career in K-12? How do you find a career in corporate? How do you find a career in higher education, whether it's a professor or a non-professor? How do you do consulting? How do you be an entrepreneur? How do you do museum design if you want to go work for museums? So we've got lots of chapters about different kinds of careers. Government is another one, military. There's chapters about how do I develop myself? What are the skills that I need? Which ones do I lack, and how do I develop the skills that I'm lacking? How do I get published? How do I network with people? What are the professional ethics that I need to know about for the field, and which journals matter? And then, of course, this last book, Failing Forward, some really interesting case studies from big people in the field, including the president of ACT, and chapters about how they fell flat on their face, how they failed horribly, but actually ended up being part of their development, so that you don't feel alone when you maybe have bumps along the road too. That's the way it's been for everyone. We have books about how to write like an academic. And these are some of the books that I've been helping with. Chapters on how to write literature reviews, grammar, flow, cohesion, argumentation, APA style. So books to help you write. And I got to give a lot of credit to Royce Kimmons. He's the primary driver of this material, but some books there for you to learn how to write is really great. And then this maybe brings me to the last thing I just wanted to make you aware of. Is you remember I said the 3 C's, content, communities, and credentials. Well, in order to be able to recognize people's learning and give them a credential, like a badge or a micro-credential for it, you need to be able to assess their learning. But that's been actually a problem for a long time, is where do you find assessments? Where do you find tests? Where do you find instruments? A lot of these are published in journals that aren't open, so you have to get access. You can't get access to them unless it's through your university. A lot of people are trying to sell their instruments, their assessments for money, so you can't use their, learning assessment unless you pay for it. I think that's problematic. So we created we call it a book, but it's really more of a repository of open assessments, instruments, protocols, and measurement tools. And we're going to be encouraging people to submit these. We don't have very many yet. So if you create an assessment as part of your education, send it to us. And the benefit to you is this can be cited. It has a link, can be discoverable online. Anybody can use it. And because this will be a Creative Commons license, anybody can adapt it, use it for their own research. That benefits you as the creator. You made something that gets used and gets cited, but then it benefits other people because then they can use it for free. So what kind of a difference will this make to the field if we make assessment open? And that's what we're trying to do here. And this is a new thing that we're starting out this year. So those are some of the different things that we have available on edtechbooks.org, and hope you'll check them out.
So much, Rick. That was awesome. Thank you all. And I'm going to stop recording.